The Deep Six. 6 stories from your world in 30 minutes or less. Hosted by Patty Steele and Steve Cochran. The Deep Six is on.
Welcome to the Deep Six, where each week 2 friends go over 6 topics in 30 or 45 minutes. We leave you entertained and fulfilled and allow you to go to a party or a barbecue or wherever you go, maybe even Costco sample day, and show how smart you are with all the stuff you've accumulated from us. You're welcome.
Either that or show how completely useless you are.
You
need a life.
No. I'm Steve Cochran from WLS Radio in Chicago, where I do the show every morning from 5:30 to 9 and a podcast later on called Live from My Office.
And I am Patty Steele. I do the morning show at CBS FM here in New York City every morning from, well, I say 6 to 9, but actually I go on at like 5:25 and do some chit chat before the show starts.
Okay.
So I'll give me that.
We'll call it 5:30 to 9. Same thing I'm doing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, except you have a pre-show.
Yes.
All right, so let's start here.
The Deep Six. Story number 1.
You could argue with me that this is entertainment because of the nature of the story, but it does involve celebrities. You like celebrities, don't you?
It depends on the celebrity. Some of them I absolutely lust after, and others I could care less.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish and Kelly Cuoco are in the news about something that's been a big deal in New York for a long time that comes and goes and comes and goes. Are they going to get rid of horse-drawn carriages in New York? Let's go live to New York, where Patty is standing by.
There you go. In fact, I'm right here outside the Handsome Cab Company. It's not handsome like you, handsome. It's actually HANSOM. That's the name of it. It was founded in 1869, and they provide horse and carriage rides for people, mostly in Central Park. Years back, they would do it in other parts of town, but now it's pretty much just confined to Central Park.
So is the whole point of the controversy, they feel the horses are being mistreated?
Yes, they feel like the time has come when we don't have to get around by on animals' backs. We can actually drive a car or drive a bike or drive an electric vehicle. And their fear is that these animals, even though that's sort of what they were bred to do, these animals are, they've got a tough life. First of all, they're riding frequently. When you first get on, you usually get on Central Park South is where you go to pick most of them up. And then they drive into the park. But while they're on Central Park South, they are in the midst of traffic. And I mean, buses, cars, everybody honking at them. And then they are, doing that in very cold weather, very hot weather. And we did have an occasion, and we have had them over the years from time to time, where a horse simply collapses. Maybe it's older, maybe it's not feeling well, maybe it needs more water, whatever it is. Sometimes we collapse too, but sometimes they do. And the argument is from the Handsome Cab Company and from the trainers and the riders and the drivers rather, is that these horses are loved and taken care of. I'm sure there are people that would argue with that, but I think for the most part, I've never seen anybody at all abusive to their horses. But I do get the worry that, they're trying to recreate a world that doesn't exist anymore.
There is a letter that's circulating signed by all these celebrities and something called the Animal Legal Defense Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a letter that includes a video that's now viral of, as they describe it, an emaciated horse on a New York street on a hot day that eventually collapses.
Right.
The World Boar witnesses a carriage driver tried to force the horse rider to its feet, but it could barely lift its head. That could be a moment in time, or it could be a bigger thing. I just think, Patty Steele, because of who you are in New York, if this were a pandemic of horse troubles, that you would have heard about it.
Yeah, no, it happens from time to time. And hey.
And it shouldn't. And it's unfortunate.
No, it shouldn't. And my heart definitely goes out to them. I got to be very honest, forthcoming here. And if you want to write me evil letters, send them please to Steve Cochran. I have ridden in them a number of times, starting when I was a little girl, because I grew up around here. And it is really fun. And while I say, oh, well, they're trying to, hold on to a time that's gone, that's kind of the beauty of it, because you listen to the clip clop of the horses. And once you get into the park, they don't have the same issues because they're on roads that don't get much in the way of car traffic.
Well, it's also romantic. It's a great
It's romantic. It's quieter, and it's like a
and
quiet
in a
ride.
city as noisy as your town in New York. What a break that is.
Yeah, so you get into these carriages and you sit and you smell the trees and the horse. There is that. It's really a beautiful experience. Now, what they want to do is stop all the horses. So I don't know. I guess all those horses would go off to a lovely farm in Pennsylvania or upstate New York.
Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, that's what they call it. And what they want to replace them with, and I think this sounds good, a little creepy. I just got to chill. They just want electric carriages. Well,
Electric carriages, those are golf carts.
That's a car, or it's a car.
Yeah,
that's really
a small electric carriage for two is a golf cart.
If you look back in the late 1800s when they were first messing around with cars, trying to build cars, they used carriages and they just motorized them,
right,
in some fashion. So I guess that's what they're thinking, that it would look like a carriage, but you jam a little electric motor and maybe a plush horse on the front. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
Animatronic.
Or maybe that horse with a stick, like a horse head with a stick that you would ride.
Right.
When you were a little kid.
Exactly.
Here are the celebrities who signed the letter: Billie Eilish and Phineas. We like them.
Yeah, very much.
Kelly Cuoco, she's a delightful lady.
She's adorable.
Rooney Mara.
Yes.
Fine. Whitney Cummings, a comedian. Fine.
Yeah.
Edie Falco, who's very much pushes for what she believes is right.
Yes, she does.
Ricky Gervais, funny dude. Don't agree with everything he says, but a funny dude.
Yes.
Joan Jett is on the list.
I got to go back to Ricky Gervais because I actually love him. And I know that he really is speaking from the heart. One of the things he and his wife do a tremendous amount of charitable work for animal rights. And he said that, now that they are getting to the point where he's not working as much, they either have bought or are in the process of buying an animal sanctuary in England.
Really?
Yeah. So he walks the walk and talks the talk.
Kesha's on this list. Also, Sarah Silverman, very funny. Hilary Swank's on the list. Marissa Tomei, who most famous for doing a movie with me. Back in the 90s.
Were you my cousin Vinny?
I wasn't my cousin or Vinny. I was in a movie with her called My Bodyguard that turned into Untamed Heart because My Bodyguard was a much different movie that turned out to be, I think, an Academy Award winner.
Untamed Heart, was that with Christian
Slater? I was his boss.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
I was his boss at a Christmas tree farm.
Wow.
And Chris, they ended up changing the movie where I had shot for a couple of weeks, multiple scenes, and it went from this ensemble cast to this love story between Marissa Tomei and Christian Slater. But because movies are shot out of sequence, Christian Slater dies at the end of the movie. It's 30 years. I don't think I spoiled it for you. And at the funeral scene at the gravesite, we had already shot the scene while it was still an ensemble cast, and I'm in the middle of the mourners. So it's Marissa Tomei, Rosie Perez, me, and then the others in the cast.
But the Christmas tree part of it was gone?
The Christmas tree part of it, they cut out everything they could. There's a brief picture of me at the Christmas tree farm right before he collapses, and his heart is actually replaced with a baboon's heart.
Yes.
An experimental surgery. That's where Untamed Heart comes from.
Yep.
But Christian Slater was great. The whole cast was great. And I really feel like I made Marissa Tomei's career.
Yeah, I think you did. You lit her on fire.
The electric cart you were talking about replacing the hansom cabs, I'm now being told if you want the fart smell from the horses, it costs extra.
I'm not even worried about the fart smell. I'm worried about the stuff that comes out.
Yes,
it's the only thing. Sure. Although they do have like this little canvas bag that goes along the back of the horse's butt, maybe a foot or two down.
That's the catcher?
Yeah, that's the catcher.
Why don't they have that
gets to empty that?
Why don't they have that for dogs so you don't have to pick up after your dog?
Just a little thing as they walk around.
Yeah, just like depending on the size of the dog, you got that.
Yeah, good idea. Eesh.
I'm a thinker. Item number 2 in entertainment. Our kids both grew up a little bit on Barney the dinosaur.
Sure.
I love you.
I had
You
Barney at a
love
birthday
me.
party for Jake years back.
And I once did an appearance with Barney the dinosaur. That's not an exaggeration. That's how, from Marissa Tomei to Barney the dinosaur. That should be the title of my book.
You are full freaking service.
Yes.
It's interesting to me because I did a Barney themed birthday party for Jake when he was 2.
Okay.
I have never had more terrified children in my house at one time than when this guy
The
came
big
in.
purple guy came in and scared him.
Yeah, scared the hell out of him. But
Well,
they were 2. I probably should have chosen differently.
We had a problem, and it's right out of a Simpsons episode where Barney was in sort of a shadow box kind of setup that was backlit. And from the side where I was standing before I introduced Barney, you could see Barney the dinosaur sitting on a stool with his head off smoking.
Oh, yikes.
So I just take my head in and go, the kids can see you. Put your freaking head on.
You.
So anyway, there is a brand new documentary coming out on Peacock. It's a 2-episode documentary, and it's called I Love You, You Hate Me.
Barney on the dark side.
Yes, one of the world's most beloved children's characters turned into a target for hate, such as the dark story of Barney the dinosaur. This premieres, depending on when you hear this, on October 12th, 2022. It follows the rise and fall of Barney and the backlash. And the character created by Cheryl Leach became a huge hit. And as a beloved character was heading for the stratosphere, people couldn't accept that this was just a show, so the bashing began. It came in the form of violently destroying Barney merchandise, spreading rumors, including one claiming Barney actors hid drugs in the costume's tail, and death threats towards the show's performers.
You're kidding. Did I miss that? And was that the demise of Barney altogether?
Well, Bob West was the name of the actor who was in the costume. And he said, I got to a point where I was concerned they being all of us, they were going to come find me and they were going to kill me. So the full story of Barney is available on Netflix. And if you watch it, you may want to find him and kill him anyway.
It's weird. You saw that thing that happened, I guess it was over the summer when the new, was it the new Minions movie came out?
Yeah.
And kids would show up and they would dress in suits and then they would go wilding in the theater when certain things happened in the Minions movie. What's the deal? They're just looking for something to do, looking for trouble to make.
Yeah. You know what they are? They're ne'er-do-wells and drifters. That's what they are.
Damn kids.
That's why we have these problems. You have a story about a very famous man with a very famous voice to wrap up our entertainment topic.
You really can't think of anybody whose voice is more iconic than James Earl Jones. He obviously gave voice to Darth Vader for almost 50 years in all the Star Wars films. Well, guess what? Done with Darth. So what he's done, and I'm fascinated with what this would pay him. He's 91 years old, and he has agreed to let filmmakers voice clone him. They take archival voice recordings and artificial intelligence speech technology to recreate his younger voice for future movies. And, the good part of that is they don't have to match it up with his lips moving because he's Darth Vader. So he's always covered. And he told them he was looking to wind down the character. And so they use this company called Respeecher, which uses AI to create new conversations.
It's kind of
creepy to me.
For any of us who are in podcasting or radio, how long before we're eliminated? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah. And here's the thing, because for us, we sort of talk off the top of our heads, usually without even using our heads. And so they recreate your speech. They're putting words in your mouth. At least if you're an actor, it's the script. So they're going to put the script, they're going to use whatever script it is. And then that's pretty easy. But when they start recreating the voice of people who are speaking extemporaneously,
right?
They can make you say anything.
Well, it's funny you say that because I did take a couple of days off recently from the radio show, and I thought they'd go out and hire a big shot to come in and fill in for me, major celebrity. Turns out they went into the general manager's office and they brought in the Alexa. and the Alexa did the whole show.
What?
So yeah. They set the Alexa up next to the microphone, and nobody noticed I was gone. So I think we're in trouble. I think we could be in trouble.
The Deep Six, number 2.
Let's go to the health category.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's getting colder. If you're up in the north where we are, you're in New York, I'm in Chicago.
Yep.
What do I need, say, to feel better?
You know what you need? You need an ice cold plunge. They're saying, have you ever been into one of those places like you're sitting in a sauna or someplace like at a hotel and they have a cold plunge pool? Have you ever done that?
And they're more than willing to charge you for it.
Oh, good. You betcha. For every icicle that hangs off your nose, they're charging you extra money. But I have to say, it's invigorating. And now it turns out it also has health benefits. They say really cold water appears to increase a hormone that can help lower your risk of diabetes. It also, and I think a lot of people know this, reduces inflammation because you see an awful lot of sports like athletes use ice plunges. You watch Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know, the guys in the locker room get into that big barrel filled with ice water, and they sit there and talk. And apparently that's what it does. It really helps with all kinds of inflammation. So at the end of the Deep Six today, I'm going to go do an ice cold plunge. Why not?
I have tips for you if you want it.
Okay.
In regards to how to do your first ice cold plunge. If you watch 60 Minutes, there was a story a year or so ago about the guy that holds the world record for an ice bath. His name is Wim Hof. And Wim Hof is a guy who was in an ice cold river, I believe, for a very long period of time until someone said, you can get out now. But cold plunging tip number 1 is breathe intentionally before entering your ice bath. Take a few intentional breaths through your nose, then enter on an exhale. Focus on your breathing in, quiet your mind, count your breaths, and you'll be good to go. Cold plunging tip 2 is submerge all the way to your neck.
Yep.
Because if you only submerge halfway, you're going to cause your body to start fighting with itself.
Wow.
Cold plunging tip number 3 is to start easy. Don't start at 39 degrees. Get into a cold water bath of sorts first.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, cycle your hands and feet out as needed. In other words, when they fall off, please remove them from the tub.
Throw them off to the side.
And cold plunging tip number 5, dunk your head in right away. Like right away. Pull your head out because you have to breathe, but be up to your neck, but plunge your head in right away so you have a sense of all of it. And I don't know if they do this in New York, because if you did this in the Hudson, you may not come out again.
Right.
In Lake Michigan, there is an ice plunge that goes on right after the new year every year.
Oh, yeah, the Polar
money.
Bear Club.
Yeah, the Polar Bear plunge.
They do that at Coney Island every year here.
Oh, they do what? Coney Island makes sense, right? That's the beach.
Yep.
Yeah, but Lake Michigan, if you want to come to Chicago in January, it is as lovely as you would think in January. It's actually great all year long. But you could jump in the river or in the lake, I should say.
Wow. I would think that would actually be colder than Coney Island is in January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Chicago and the lake in January, yikes.
You know, speaking of ice baths, sometimes he's interested, you're not. Maybe tell him to take an ice bath, huh?
That's right. Or maybe sometimes you're not interested and sometimes he's not interested, or maybe that's all the time. And that would be an asexual relationship.
I hate to use these terms, but I feel like it's catching on.
I know it. It's like all the great kids are doing it.
It should be a trait, but I'm hearing more about asexual behavior than ever.
All the great kids are not doing it. That's apparently what it's about. Yeah. What they did is they did a study about asexual relationships, and they looked at 500 asexual people in romantic relationships, and they discovered that the idea that sex is a necessary part of that relationship was a load of wad of stuff. Researchers said that the hope is that this destigmatizes asexual people's relationships and make you realize that you can be as satisfied and have as great a time in that relationship as folks who do the on a regular basis.
And by the way, that's a technical scientific term that Patty just shared with you.
Yes, that was actually live from my bedroom.
I wonder if there's a dating site for asexual people.
There definitely is. There definitely is.
It makes sense.
Yeah, because some people just don't have any interest in that,
Right.
but they still have, fall in love and have romantic feelings. They just don't have any physical urges. And so what they're saying is that's okay. And
And good luck to all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You horny weirdos, and those of you who don't want to do it ever.
Or just weirdos.
Yeah, or just regular weirdos. And that might be because your tummy's off. That's why we need a guy that shows up on TikTok all the time called Mr. Gut Health.
Yes, don't you love that name? That's really a handle. I was thinking, somehow
Wrong branding.
I'd like to feminize it because I do look at myself as a female. What would I call myself if I wasn't Mr. Gut? Oh, about Miss Gut Health. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Miss Gut Health. Yeah, no, Mr. Gut Health sounds like the worst Marvel superhero ever.
Right. Well, he shared the foods that he says you should never eat if you would like to avoid food poisoning. I think most of us would like to avoid food poisoning, don't you?
I'm in for avoiding it.
So what do you think the number one thing on his list is?
It got to be, potato salad.
No, well, potato salad left out in the sun.
Yeah,
yes, that's probably true. Number one on his list, oysters. They say they are bivalve filter feeders. That sounds really yummy.
And by the way, I hate oysters. I've never liked oysters.
Really, I love them. Oh, good. No. But the problem is they are more than just bottom feeders. They actually suck up everything that's in the water that they are in. So if there's anything in the water, it's being sucked into their little shells and they marinate in it. Then you pry them open and pop them in your mouth raw. And that's one of the problems with that. Well, I've made you want to try it now, haven't I?
Not even close. Not even close.
Another thing that he rails against are hamburgers when they're really rare. I guess so.
You shouldn't be eating rare meat. That's just
I love rare meat. Are you crazy?
I can't do it. Can't do it.
Oh, wow. You're so Midwestern. Oh, wait, you're in the Midwest.
I'm in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And then they say one of the things you should never eat is bagged salad. Look, that's so easy. You go to the grocery store, you want to make a salad for dinner, you grab the bag of salad, and then you just throw your tomatoes in, jam a little, salad.
So I get why it might be a concern, but what's the specifics of why it's bad?
Well, the specifics of it is there's a lot of potential for cross-contamination. So in other words, if you have problems with some of your harvest, it's going to sit in the bag and kind of work together. Worse than that, the bag holds moisture in. And so, and a lot of people,
it's a breeding ground.
Yeah, it's like a little petri dish. A lot of people, oh God, do I admit this? Yes, myself included. I don't always rinse it when it comes out of the bag. I figure it was rinsed when it went into the bag. Why do I have to rinse it again?
I don't think
then it's wet and you got to dry it and all that kind of stuff. And then here's the final item on the list. I looked at this and I went, no, duh. Old or discounted sushi.
Really? Do you think that's a problem?
I think it might be a problem.
I think another word for that is gas station sushi.
Exactly. We got to move this out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to run in the 7-Eleven, get some beef jerky and sushi.
Yeah. You want some old tuna?
That's just a bad idea all over. But I can see Mr. Gut Health on TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yep, he's right there.
Well, that's perfect then, because topic number 3 is the Halloween season, and specifically pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me about something I was not aware of. People are carving their pumpkins with power washers.
Yes. Well, here's the thing, and I will admit to this. I've been a pumpkin carver for generations. Well, not generations, but years. And you take these knives, and if it's a big pumpkin, it is a buttload of work to try to just get some goofy looking eye cut out, or trying not to. You go to do the mouth and you're trying to create teeth, and then you cut across and you knock its teeth out, and it's a mess. And then you have to clean out the inside because it's got all those gooey strings on the inside.
The pumpkin brain.
Yeah. So now what you do is you take your power washer, you draw on the pumpkin, and you can see this on TikTok. There's tons of videos for it. Millions of people have been watching. And you draw on the outside of your pumpkin, I guess what the shapes that you want to cut out. And then you do that pinpoint power washer thing. and you carve through that way. And then you open it up a little and you spray on the inside. And before you know it, you are covered in pumpkin goo.
Right. Which, by the way, that's a band I was in, Pumpkin Goo. The power washing sounds like the work of a performance artist. Are the amateurs any good at it?
Well, you tell me. You've been looking at the videos.
I've looked at a few, and it does look like it's probably easier to go the knife route unless you know what you're doing. Because these people that know what they're doing are really artistic about
Yes,
it.
they're very artistic, but the others all look like they have leprosy. So
If you get yourself the pumpkin leper and some old gas station sushi, that's a night.
that's a night.
Tremendous. All right. Now, are you a pumpkin spice girl?
No, I am totally not in. I like certain things pumpkiny. Pumpkin spice has never done it for me. Mostly because I'm a big coffee drinker and I hate flavored coffees. So you get
What do you drink? Black coffee?
Either black or with a little bit of I like almond milk, or I
Okay.
like
A
oat
splash,
love oat
a
milk,
splash of something.
or I like pure cream, believe it or not. So I'll
Interesting.
put a dash of that in, but that's all I like. I don't like any sweet.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas: old sushi and pure cream.
Well, listen to this. This is the most amazing thing. And this is for people who are really into pumpkin spice latte. It's an engagement ring. It's created by Angelic Diamonds. It's called a pumpkin spice latte ring. Duh. It features a whipped cream shaped center. It's made up of white diamonds, orange sapphires, and then it has a gold rose band. And you know how much that will cost you to have that trendy little item?
$2,000.
$11,300. I don't know why the 300 comes from.
Come on.
Yeah. And it comes in a box that is like a coffee cup wrap. So you can take the box and slip it on your cup of coffee. It has a little pumpkin kind of latch on it to open the box. And when you open the box, it wafts pumpkin spice scent.
My boss on the radio is nuts for pumpkin spice, and she would love this, and I'm not going to get it for her.
No, not for $11,000. And and honestly, I think it's the kind of thing when it's a short-term relationship, even if it's a short-term marriage, because that's a trend that, a few years from now will be really irritating when you look down at your ring finger. So
yeah, well, I can, what? I can also say this, since it would be a short-term relationship thing, maybe I should do it because all of my show business relationships are short-term relationships.
The Deep Six, number 4.
You've heard the British pound is getting pounded, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. People are telling me that it's literally, dollar for pound now. It used to be $1.50 to a pound.
Now, $1 American dollar is equivalent to 4,000 British pounds. Okay, maybe not quite that.
No, I think not.
But check this out. The British pound has fallen so much that instead of buying a Rolex in America, it's actually cheaper to fly first class from New York to London, buy the watch in London, stay in a 5-star hotel, and fly back.
And it's cheaper that way?
Cheaper that way.
Oh my gosh.
Where would I buy a Rolex? Like if you said, I need to get a Rolex, where would you send me in New York?
Well, we have this watch company called Tourneau here, which, and I'm not even sure it survived the pandemic because I haven't been by it in a couple of years, but that was always huge. That was the place to go for watches. And I think it still is. I think they moved off of their 57th Street location, but they're definitely still around. The other place, probably, if you're looking for that, would be maybe Tiffany. There's a lot of places in New York. There's the Jewelry District.
Sure.
On 47th Street.
Yeah, same in Chicago.
Yeah.
But you can literally, again, if you're making plans, fly from New York to London, buy the watch, stay overnight in a 5-star hotel, fly back, and you'll have enough money for dinner, as opposed to just going to the Tourneau shop and buying it just the watch.
Isn't that amazing when you think about it?
There's your economy.
The other thing is, the first and foremost, you have to actually be able to afford a Rolex in order to save money on it.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So
right.
maybe you don't have time to take the really fabulous overnight trip to London, but it's kind of sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
I wonder if there's some way we could do a Timex conversion on the same thing. You have to fly to London, go to the Target in London, buy the Timex, and then fly back. All right, let's
And
go
where
to
would you stay?
yes, and you would stay at whatever the Motel 6 version is in
Of
London.
London. And the
let's go-
Hotel 6.
The Deep Six. Number 5.
You know, when we do these Deep Six shows, Patty and I are looking at each other on Zoom, her in New York and me here in Chicago. And you usually have a couple of wingmen. And by wingmen, I mean dogs.
Yes, I do. I have Abby. Her real name is Abbey Road because there's a big Beatles fan in my house, actually several of them. And then the other one is Luna. And they're beautiful pups. I just love them both. I call them my little ponies because they come running around the house and they are shoulder to shoulder all the time. They adore each other.
And you know, they can sense when you're upset.
Yeah, they can. That's why they come in here whenever we're doing the Deep Six. They're in here on the couch behind me because they know how upset I get when I'm talking to you. Right. So here's the story. You may notice this because I used to have a pussycat who, when I was like 15 years old, and you know how emotional 15-year-old girls can be.
Sure.
Whenever I was like in that kind of a mood, he would jump up on the dresser in my room or whatever was nearby, and he would rub his face against me while I cried. And my tears, he would dry my tears that way. And I just loved that. My dogs do the same thing, although Luna tends to get really nervous. And so they decided to do a study on this. They said when it comes to dogs and probably cats, it's because they can actually smell when you're stressed. It is when we are stressed, we give off this thing called cortisol. So what they did is they had 4 dogs sniff the sweat. That's a nice job of stressed people and then sniff the sweat of relaxed people. And they said they were able to tell who was stressed with astounding accuracy, 94%. The only thing is I don't know how the dogs indicated, yeah, this guy's really stressed out or this guy's really happy. I don't know how they did that.
Well, they sat back and took a long draw off their cigarette, which they shouldn't have been smoking inside, and said, it's Bob, the guy on the left. Yeah, I don't know how they would have told that either.
No. Now, they say cats can probably smell it too, but, you know, they just don't care if you're stressed. So
no, the cat stress comes from whether or not you're going to feed them or do what they want when you want them.
Really? You want to spend time with me? Okay.
Well, just know that special connection you have with your dog and the BS connection you have with your cats are scientifically proven. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And not far from me, speaking of dogs, there is a huge, massive, you remember, I think it was Sun Young Moon and the mass weddings.
Oh, yeah.
There were
they still do
Moonies.
those. They may still do those, actually.
I don't know, but I do know this. Geneva, Illinois is hosting mass dog weddings. Patty Steele is back and now live in Geneva, Illinois with this report.
Dozens of dogs are gathering here in Geneva in an attempt to break the Guinness World Record for the largest dog wedding ceremony ever. Now, there is a current record, 178 married dog couples. That was set 15 years ago in Colorado, not in Geneva. They did try to break the record in 2021, but the dogs were just not ready to commit. So they weren't able to get enough together.
So you had dogs with a commitment problem?
Yes, they would be like, yeah, I'll hang with you. I'll probably hump you, but I'm not going to marry you.
Right, because the dog's got to be free, man.
Yeah,
The dog's got to be able to roam.
Let's do it doggy style. Now, on the upside, this event is working to raise $100,000 for Canines for Warriors, which is a wonderful nonprofit that puts trained service dogs with vets and other groups. And also the dog brides and grooms get a ceremony, red carpet, music. They say a champagne toast, but it's actually goat milk because that's really good for dogs. And live music, giveaways, photo booth. And here's the best part. If your dog shows up and is single and looking for love, they will place them with another pooch also looking for love. And maybe, just maybe, the sparks will fly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Or they'll bite each other.
Now, what you should know is these dogs also respond to certain triggers, much like the rest of us. There are small bottles of fine wine, and depending on the size of the breed, boom boxes that only play Luther Vandross records.
And they're swaying to the music together.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
The Deep Six. Number 6.
And finally, this note just handed to me, and it seems like a perfect item for number 6. You know, we love old people getting it done, don't we?
Oh, you betcha. What do you mean getting it done? Are we going back to some sex story?
Nope. This is
Nope.
all about staying in shape, and then she can do whatever she wants.
Oh.
Charlotte Sandal, Sandal, is 100 years old. She still paints her toes in rainbow colors, loves her Chardonnay, and goes all over to pursue world records in swimming at 100.
Swimming, really?
She didn't discover her competitive urge until 1994 when she was 72 years old. She's a World War II vet, and she was just looking for a hobby. So a friend convinced her to sign up for a freestyle swim event at the 1994 Montana Senior Olympics. She won a gold medal. She got hooked. She doesn't look back, and she has a giant metal room now to hold all of her awards.
A giant metal what?
Metal room. It's her trophy room. It holds.
Like a metal room, not a metal room.
Yeah, well, it could be metal. Who am I to judge?
It's all.
She credits her swimming workouts with keeping her active, aiding her recovery when she broke her hip in a bike accident. By the way, that bike accident happened when she was 88.
Yeesh.
She's competed in more than 400 masters swim races. She has 300 individual U.S. masters swimming top 10s, which means she placed among the top 10 in her sex and age group in an event over a whole season. I mean,
but who else is in that group?
No one. They all died.
Yeah.
No, no, I don't know, honestly, how many there are, but I think it's remarkable.
It is remarkable. It's, you know what? And I always say how much I appreciate older people who just keep looking forward. I think I've told you the story of this woman I saw in the New York Times a few years ago. And she was like the first woman to own her own ad agency in New York. She married the president of a big airline at one point. They were married happily for a number of years. And then he passed on. She moved into an ultra modern apartment here in New York because she always wanted to live in one. And then like about 4 years ago, she said, you know, I've always wanted to live in London. I love London. I think it'd be really cool. So she sold the apartment here in New York. She bought an apartment in London to move over there and live that joy. She was 94 years old.
Good for her. Good for her.
I love that.
I love it too.
There's no, wow, time has passed me by. I guess I'll never live in London. She's like, you know what? I don't care if I'm 94. I'm going to go have fun.
And by the way, if this 100-year-old lady hasn't made you feel bad yet, let me see if I could put the final on that for you.
Okay.
She holds a plank pose for 1 minute every morning, right after she gets up and right before she goes to bed every night. Now, if you think that's no big deal, go do a plank right now for 1 minute.
I do a plank every morning. I only do one. I can't, and I've been told you should do 3. And I'm lucky if I can go 20 seconds. And I don't even do a normal plank. I have to put my hands, my forearms down on the ground to hold myself. I can't do the just hands
push-up
only
position. Yeah.
How on earth does she do that?
She's at 100 years old. She also holds a wall sit. You know what a wall sit is, where you back up to the wall and you get into a sitting position like a chair is.
But there's no chair there, right?
She holds a wall sit for 1 minute twice a day to strengthen her legs as well. Before she goes to the pool and she swims for 90 minutes. She also walks the neighborhood and bikes.
90 minutes she swims?
Yeah.
Like, I'm really, really super proud of myself if I do like 5 laps.
She
and
swims
that's in a kiddie pool.
When she goes, she typically swims a half mile, practicing all 4 strokes, and she increases her mileage leading up to competitions. She said she doesn't feel like she can do this forever.
Hello, you've already done it forever.
Yeah, but she may start toning it or taking it back a step or two by the time she's 105. I love this lady.
You know what? I don't think she should kick it back. It sounds to me like she's doing something right.
Yeah, she's amazing. So that's it. We just want to leave you on an upbeat note there because there's so much tough news in the world.
I know.
Let's all be a little more like Charlotte Sandal.
Yes, we love her. Charlotte. I like that name too.
Yeah, it's a kind of fits the woman. All right, look, the bottom line is this. You've heard our 6 topics. You now have knowledge you didn't have before. You can go forth in the world and impress others or bore them to tears. Your call.
And we will let you use all of this knowledge for free. You don't have to pay us. Usually we charge.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that. This was free?
Only because we couldn't figure out how to collect from anybody.
It's a good thing you're fun. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Yes, baby.
It's Patty Steele in New York. I'm Steve Cochran in Chicago. It is the Deep Six. Tell your friends and hear it wherever you get your podcasts, including the Live from My Office feed. And Patty, you put it up on your side too, right?
On pattysteele.com.
All right,
Absolutely.
thanks.
And one more thing.
What?
We absolutely, we love each other and we love you.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yes, that's exactly right. I'm glad you finished with that.
Thank you.
That was positive. All right, good night.
Thanks for listening. The Deep Six. Subscribe, rate, follow, or review at pattysteele.com or cochranshow.com.